Neymar Total Chaos o Neymar Caos Total es el nombre del nuevo documental que ya está en Netflix y que, como bien lo indica su nombre, pues nos da acceso íntimo y bastante imparcial a la vida de este ídolo de multitudes, de este ícono del fútbol, amado por millones, odiado por millones, que nunca escapa de la controversia. Estamos hoy con David Charles Rodríguez, director de este maravilloso documental. David, bienvenido, welcome, bienvenido, obrigada por estar conosco. Can I say that?
Hi, very nice to meet you.
Let's start by saying, and I want the audience to know this, you, in 2019, I think it was that you directed Gay Chorus Deep South.
Yes.
And you made me cry.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know you saw it. Thank you so much.
No,
Sorry I made you.
No, please don't worry. I loved it. I loved it. But we just want to, before talking the documentary, we want to talk about your career a little bit.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, Gay Chorus was a really incredible project that I was fortunate enough to do in partnership with Airbnb and MTV Films. And, you know, it's about the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus doing an activist tour in the South in 2016. Yeah, fun times.
Fun times. That's, I would say, I don't know, Mission Impossible. But actually what you achieved with what they achieved and you captured with your cameras was fantastic. And that, I mean, and I think that Neymar also, I think that just like giving us a deeper look and access into anybody's life is going to make you understand that other person a little bit. You can judge, I still judge, but I think it gives us definitely a better perspective.
Yeah, you know, human beings are so complex and have so many sides to them. And, you know, unfortunately, our narratives for thousands of years now focus on duality, right? Good and evil, you know, hero and villain. And that's just not true. That's not the reality, right?
That's
so
not,
I feel like
it's being human. We are all flawed. We all screw it up 1,000 times, and we also have our good sides.
Exactly. And many sides in between, right? You know, there's sides that are both good and bad, you know, and it's just, and I feel like it's the role of the documentary, you know, and hopefully of future narratives to tell a deeper dimension of what it means to be a human being, you know, and that's what I'm always trying to do with my work.
David, your background, I want to briefly talk about your background because you're Greek, Brazilian, American, talking about a combination. And how do you keep up with the three cultures at home? That, I mean, that must be difficult.
It's a lot of yelling, a lot of being very loud. So I can't, I'm deaf. I'm partially deaf in the left ear because of being Greek Brazilian.
You know what? I guess, I mean, it's funny because if you would want to compare probably like German people with Latin people, that's like, no. But Greek people with Latin people, they're loud as well.
Yeah, the resilience, the passion, you know, it's all very, very similar, you know, in the values and the beliefs and just the way of being, the energy, right? And the dance.
And the dancing for everything. Now, David, are you, I presume you are a soccer fan, or how did this come to life? How did you get interested in this topic and this character?
I'm interested, you know, it's interesting because when I grew up a soccer fan, you know, I moved to Brazil when I was 8 years old, and you know,
Oh,
my dad would take me to games, and you know,
that's
so
really good.
just living in Brazil, you know, I lived there from 8 to 25, you know, and during that time I was deeply immersed in soccer. But then when I moved away, I kind of lost touch a little bit, you know, to be totally honest.
Of
And
course.
I think making this film really helped me reconnect to that passion and to that world, and it helped me realize that I had a deeper understanding of a way deeper understanding of soccer than I actually thought I did. You know, it really brought a lot of my experience of the past back into my present. Um, and yeah, but I came into this project. I was actually doing another developing a basketball series. I used to play basketball. I'm actually a basketball fan more
Uh-huh.
than
Okay.
um,
One
I was
one doesn't have to it's not in conflict with the other. You can be both.
actually, here's a good way to sum up who I am. When I lived in America, I played soccer, and then when I moved to Brazil, I started playing basketball. And
All right. You
that's
like to go against the water. You like to against the current. I see that. Um,
but anyways, I was working on a basketball project with LeBron's company, Spring Hill,
yeah, and we have to
and
say that Spring Hill and LeBron, you know, it's one of the executive producers of this documentary. And I
yeah,
see Neymar more than half of the time in the documentary wearing a Lakers shirt, which
and
is
that was totally. He's always. What's interesting about Neymar is he really loves basketball. He's always in basketball jerseys, not just for the film, just always. You know, it's really interesting.
right.
Yeah.
Isn't that you
Um,
see that? Isn't that fascinating? I mean, I love those. It's fascinating. I love those facts. You learn a lot seeing that. You know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I was doing this project. It ended up not happening, and then they were approached to do this series about Neymar, and they asked me if I would like to, you know,
Who
pitch for
approached
it.
who? That LeBron approached Neymar, or Neymar approached LeBron?
Neymar and Netflix approached LeBron.
Okay, that is interesting.
Neymar and LeBron had a relationship before, and you know, Spring Hill is an incredible production company, but at the same time, their goal, their mission as a company is to develop content with athletes and give them a deeper view, a more dimensional view, you know, and I think they understood that, and that's why they trusted his company to make this film, you know, because the goal is to really, you know, the mission statement of Spring Hill is more than an athlete, you know, so it's really to show, you know, the many sides of an athlete.
Now, as a journalist, as a reporter who interviews celebrities all the time, you tell me, all right, we are going to do a documentary about Neymar, and I'm going to freeze. I'm going to panic. I am not going to know when to start, what to target, what is going to be the main story, the main conductor of the story. So how do you source that out? Because there is so much information out there, and there's so much
Yeah.
information from him. How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, there's two answers to that question. You know, him as a character, him as a subject. I think it's really important for you to, especially when you're dealing with celebrities, you have to go and speak with them as if you're meeting a completely new person, because you are, because the image that you have of them and you see of them is not fully them. It's part of them, obviously, but it's not fully them. So if you go in with that of like, hey, you know, like we just met each other, right? Like you go in as if you're meeting someone for the first time. That will help dictate a lot of the narrative and the story you will tell, because you're discovering it for the first time. And as you discover it, the viewer will kind of discover it. That said, it's still important for a film to have a very strong structure, and that structure is created before you start filming. You know, some filmmakers like to find the films as they film, but for me, it's important to have a structure before. but with enough openness for surprises and turns and everything. So for me, I think it's more revealing to learn about someone in present time. So we chose the 2019-2020 season as that structure, right? So we could spend a year with him, film with him in present day.
Right.
And then when certain crucial moments happen during that time, that opens doors to his past. So then you can start telling his past through moments that happen in the present. And then that's basically, I mean, that's the way I work. I know different people work differently. But those are kind of the two layers of the story and how it can be told.
Yes, and definitely, yes, we have to say that, you know, the moment prior to the Champions League, the final 2021, that season, and then, you know, going back to the beginnings, which is also, I mean, you discover so much about him, and his father, and how much his father has to do with, you know, everything that he has accomplished. What did you find out or discover about Neymar that probably, you know, you had a total different idea about it or about him, and then once you got to know him and spend that much time with him, that perspective changed? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I always try my best to go in with an open mind and an open heart, you know, so I didn't really, especially when I was connecting with him, I was just getting to know him as I went. I think the big surprise, I think the main surprises were his willingness of being open and being fully transparent about everything he was feeling during that time. I was very the stakes of his life and his career are very high, you know, both as an athlete and financially.
Yes.
So I thought it was very brave, very courageous, or you know, also very smart of him to just be open and just kind of let the process do its thing. Same with the father and you know, the whole family. They really, once they realized that they were in it, they just kind of let it go, you know, and almost forgot the cameras were there, which is every, you know, filmmaker's dream.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that was one. And then another thing that's very that was a pleasant surprise to me is his demeanor. You know, he's actually very shy and he has a very low key demeanor, you know, like his presence on social media and on the field is quite different than, you know, when you just sit down and talk to him, you know, like
So there's an alter ego thing there happening.
Just a different side, right? It's almost like a musician when they go on stage, right? They're very different than how, but they're not trying to be different. I think it's just the adrenaline and the moment that transforms them, you know, and I feel like he has that too. And then the third thing that, you know, I wish I could have explored more in the film, and, you know, we just didn't get a chance, and maybe he's just not there in his life yet, is I think he's a highly creative person. You know, I love creativity, and, you know, it's something that's been a part of my life forever. And just seeing how he talks and articulates ideas, and he draws really well. And, you know, he came up with the title of the film, The Perfect Chaos. He's a very creative person, which currently I feel like expresses best when he's playing. You know, he's very creative when he's playing, or with his fashion, right, with his style.
Yes.
But I feel like he'll have an opportunity, perhaps once he retires and has more time, to express that creativity in other forms. I think that was a big surprise for me. He's a very creative person, and I would love to, you know, whether it's me documenting or you know, someone else exploring more of that in him.
Well, I have a theory about people like Kobe or LeBron, and now that you name him, Neymar. If you compare him with, let's say, Messi, right?
Yep.
It's a total different personality, and the game is their games are totally different. But
Yep.
when you see the game of Neymar or LeBron or Kobe, you see so much creativity in the field. You know, they come up with things that you're like, wait a minute, what was that?
Absolutely. You know, one of my all-time heroes is Magic Johnson. And for
Oh,
me, he's one of the most creative athletes in sports history.
yes.
And you see how he leads his life, you know, as a businessman, and you know, everything he's done after he retired, even how he dealt with his, you know, HIV status, like
HIV.
everything done in such human, creative, beautiful way that I feel like a lot of these athletes, that creativity is kind of their secret weapon, will manifest in their lives after they retire.
You mentioned the willingness of him and his family to, and actually you say it's smart of him. I do think it's very smart of him, because you and I think we have experienced that, to sit down either to do an interview or to do a profile piece or something, and then people being really reluctant to show absolutely everything, the good and the bad. And this is one of, I have to confess, I sat down and I said, you know, I sat down to watch this documentary, and I said, okay, I really hope that this is not a redemption documentary. I really hope that, you know, all the controversial parts are there, including the accusations of rape. And
Yeah.
you didn't disappoint me. Everything was there. And the furious fans were there, and people disapproving of him, and people saying, you know what, he believes he's a star and he's a hero. He behaves as a social media star and he's not, and he should just, you know, go and play, and all of that is there. And that's what it is. That's what a documentary is.
Yeah, yeah, you have to show all the sides, you know. And I mean, the greatest lesson I learned making Gay Chorus is, you know, they went to the South wanting to be heard, but what they realized is if you want to be heard, you have to listen, you know. And I really took that into everything I do in my life, and it played a huge role in making this film about, you know, just really listening to everyone, you know, to Neymar, to the fans, to the journalists, you know, to the people who love him, to the people who hate him, to, you know, all the perspectives. And then
Yes.
you just create these questions and you let the audience answer them, you know. Like, it's not my job to answer any question, you know, it's my job just to present something that hopefully you don't really get in any other, you know, way. You know, you can only get it by watching this film, this
and
series.
and to tell you the truth, that even if you don't like him, even if you're on the side of the detractors, you have to appreciate that, you know, he was willing to be in a documentary in which everything was going to be featured. And I love also the arguments, you know, with his father, how the father has a different vision and he doesn't. And I love how you portray that, because that is so important. It's so important for everybody to see that even when your father is a manager, he doesn't have control over you, right? I mean, it's two people at the end.
Yep.
The end.
And I feel like we were there at a pivotal moment where, you know, Neymar was really becoming his own self and wanting to create, you know, his own path, while his father has been, you know, really helping him steer that path. And obviously, you know, it's very emotional, and it will automatically create that conflict. But I feel like what they did with that conflict is they both evolved from it, and they both grew, and they both created a new relationship, you know, of love and respect. And, you know, I think that's the part that, you know, people oftentimes only focus on the bad part, you know, but
Yes.
the bad part exists to help us evolve and become better, you know. And if you don't show that other part, you know, which I think is more central to the third episode, um, you miss out on the reason why conflict is so important. You know, conflict is growth. And if you show that growth, you can make people more comfortable about having that conflict in their lives.
I mean, I don't want to sound I don't know, he's still growing. He's 27 or 28.
It's going to
In
be 30.
many ways, he's still a kid, you know, I mean, with a lot of power, but he is still growing into being a full adult, a full grown up. And I think, I mean, you see those things into like, oh, you know, I want to go to the Paris Saint-Germain. No, I want to go back to the Barcelona. That's the kid. That's the kid who wants both things, but at the end he has to learn. And I don't know if you have been in touch with him, but it's really interesting to see how he wanted to go back to the Barcelona, and now he has Messi on the team, and he welcomed Messi with arms wide open.
Yeah. I mean, him and Messi love each other. They're close friends.
Yes.
The rivalry between them was totally in the press. It never really existed.
Yes.
And Neymar did. I mean, that's when we started filming him, when he was trying to go back to Barcelona, and it just didn't work out. And, you know, he swallowed his pride and he made it work. And I feel like him not going back to Barcelona was a pivotal moment in his life. Like, that's really when he became a full adult.
Yes.
All of that said, one thing that I realized when making this film, and that really helps understand him better, he was 12 years old when he made his first million. You know, he's been a professional athlete. You can't expect someone to have a normal growth from adolescence to adulthood if that's your life since you're 12. You know, there will be aspects of your life like discipline and professional ethic where you're going to be more mature earlier on. And then other things, you know, like your social life, you may be less mature because you didn't have a normal way to develop that and to make mistakes and to, you know, and I feel like that's just a product of growing up in that different way. You know, you're gonna develop differently. You know,
definitely. You want to relive what you didn't have. He didn't go to school. He didn't go to college. He didn't do normal things. And to tell you the truth, in my opinion, as a grown-up, for a kid that made his first million at 12, I think the best thing that could ever happen to him is not going back to Barcelona, you know, and you know, for you know, for him to be told, no, you cannot do that. You cannot do whatever the heck you want. You're staying. And that, as you said, that made him grow a lot. But I mean, it's just funny because he wanted to go back, and now how things work. Now he is with one of his best friends in the team again.
Yep.
They talk, him and his father, they talk about legacy, which is something that I never suspected. I mean, it was an important topic for them. What do you think his legacy will be, David?
I think that's a great question. I think, you know, any athlete's career, there's a expiration date on it.
Yes.
You know, and I think now these younger athletes like Neymar have better role models, right? Like I think Jordan and even Magic Johnson and, you know, many other David Beckham as well, you know, many other successful athletes of a past generation were able to establish their legacy and to kind of use that to live forward, you know, and continue what they believe in, but just in a different stage that's not the soccer field, you know. And I feel like unfortunately Kobe was just starting to live that, you know, and he was on to many great things, and bringing that ethic as an athlete into his personal life. And I feel like that's what really hit Neymar and made him, you know, rethink about his life that way. It so happened, and this was a total coincidence, that his father was in Paris during that time to present to him the next 10 years of his career until he retires. He was like the vision of the company and his career. So those two things happened simultaneously, which was kind of insane. And that created extra tension. But
insane, but delicious for you and for the documentary.
and maybe even for themselves to help get through it, right? It was a, you know, in a weird way, the documentary was also a form of therapy for them, I guess.
Definitely.
But I don't really know what I think Neymar always has done things differently than most athletes. And I think his legacy will be the same way. You know, I think it will be different. You know, I think he takes playing soccer very seriously and he really loves it, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. So I think it will be done in a more creative, larger than life way that,
Yes.
you know, will be maybe a new paradigm. As Jordan was a paradigm shift, you know, in the 90s, I think Neymar's retirement will be a new role model for future athletes. And all I know is it will be exciting and it will be full of ups and downs. That I can guarantee.
David, what's your next project? What are you working on right now?
I'm working on 2 new projects. I can't really talk about them that much.
Okay.
But one is about social media addiction.
Aha.
Through the lens of a famous pop star here in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
And then the other one is about a dynasty of a very beloved NBA team.
Well, I can't wait to see what you're working on. I can't wait to have you here again. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much. I really enjoyed the documentary.
This was really fun. I appreciate it.